I woke up choking on the smell of smoke filling my lungs. Seconds later, the fire alarm tore through the silence of the early morning. I tried to run, but all the doors and windows were jammed shut. When I finally managed to escape, I saw something that froze my blood. My husband was outside recording the flames with a smile on his face. He was not trying to save me. He was waiting for me to die. But before I continue, make sure you are already subscribed to the Elderly Stories channel and write in the comments, where are you watching this video from? We love knowing how far our stories are reaching. The night was quiet when I went to sleep. I remember staring at the ceiling for a few minutes before finally closing my eyes, thinking about how life sometimes seems so normal right before everything falls apart. Michael had gone out earlier saying he needed to take care of some business at the office. Nothing different. He was always a workaholic, always with some last-minute meeting or some important client. I was so tired I did not even ask. I simply took a shower, put on my pajamas, and threw myself into bed. Sleep came fast and heavy, the kind that pulls you to a deep place where not even dreams can reach you. I do not know how much time passed, but suddenly something ripped me from that comfortable darkness. A smell, strong, penetrating, suffocating. My nose started to burn before my mind processed what was happening. It was smoke. Dense, toxic smoke filling the room like a silent intruder. I opened my eyes in panic. Darkness still dominated, but there was something different in the air. A whitish mist floated near the ceiling, reflecting an orange light coming from somewhere in the house. My heart instantly raced. Then came the sound, shrill, piercing, desperate. The fire alarm exploded in a frenetic sequence of beeps that drilled into my eardrums. It was real. The house was on fire. I jumped out of bed with trembling legs. The floor was hot under my bare feet, too hot. I ran to the bedroom door, grabbed the knob without thinking, and let out a scream of pain. The metal was boiling, burning my palm instantly. I ignored the pain and forced the door with my shoulder. Nothing. The door did not move a single inch. I tried again this time, using all my strength, slamming my body against the wood in desperation. The door was jammed. But why we never locked the bedroom door from the inside? Never. And even if it were locked, I should be able to open it by turning the knob. My brain started working at an accelerated pace while the smoke became thicker. This door was locked from the outside. Someone locked me in here. Panic rose up my throat like bile. I screamed for Michael, my voice coming out hoarse and desperate between the coughing fits that were starting to dominate me. Michael, Michael. Help me, I am trapped. Nothing. Only the sinister crackle of the fire consuming the house around me, and that incessant alarm reminding me that time was running out. The smoke was now descending from above, forming a grayish curtain that reduced my visibility. My eyes burned so much I could barely keep them open. Every breath was torture, as if I were inhaling ground glass. I stumbled to the window, coughing violently, feeling my chest tighten. The curtains were open, and through the glass fogged by smoke, I could see the yard illuminated by the orange light of the flames that were already consuming the lower part of the house. I grabbed the window latch with my shaking hands and tried to open it. I pulled with all my might. Nothing happened. I tried again and again. The window would not move. It was not just stuck. I looked closer and my blood ran cold. Someone had put nails in the sides of the window, thick nails hammered deeply into the frame, preventing any movement. This was not an accident. This was not an electrical failure or a forgotten candle. Someone planned this. Someone locked me in here to die. The room was becoming unbearably hot. The air was thin. Every attempt to breathe brought in more smoke than oxygen. My legs started to weaken. I felt my vision blur, not just from the smoke, but from the lack of air. No, I could not pass out. If I passed out now, it would be the end. I looked around, desperately searching for anything I could use. My eyes landed on the heavy wooden chair next to the desk. It was solid antique, with thick and sturdy legs. Without thinking twice, I grabbed the chair with both hands. It was heavy, much heavier than I imagined, but the adrenaline running through my veins gave me a strength I did not know I had. I lifted the chair over my head, staggering slightly with the weight, and with a scream that came from the bottom of my soul, I threw it against the window. The first impact created a spiderweb crack in the glass. It was not enough. I grabbed the chair again, ignoring the burning in my arms, the cough tearing my throat, and I hit the window a second time. The glass exploded into 1,000 pieces, falling both inside and outside. The fresh night air invaded the room like a blessing, but it also fed the flames that were already licking the door through the cracks. I had seconds before the room turned into a complete hell. I climbed onto the windowsill without hesitating. Shards of glass still trapped in the frame tore my skin, cutting my arms, my legs, my feet. The pain was sharp but distant. My body was in pure survival mode. I looked down. The ground seemed miles away, although it was probably only 10 feet. There was no time to calculate, to think of a safer way. Either I jumped now or I burned to death. I closed my eyes and threw myself. The fall seemed to last an eternity and a second at the same time. My body spun in the air uncontrolled, and then came the impact. I landed on the wet grass with a thud that knocked all the air out of my lungs. A stabbing pain exploded in my right ankle, radiating up my entire leg. My left shoulder had also hit hard, and every movement was agony. But I was alive. I was outside. I was breathing pure air. I lay there for a few seconds, gasping, coughing, trying to make my lungs work again. The grass was cold and damp under my body, a shocking contrast to the infernal heat I had just escaped. When I finally could move, I turned on my side and tried to prop myself up on my elbow. Every muscle in my body screamed in protest. Slowly, I forced myself to sit up, moaning in pain. Blood was running from the cuts on my arms, staining my light pajamas. That was when I looked up and saw the house, our house. The windows on the bottom floor were vomiting orange flames that licked the outer walls, climbing toward the roof. Thick black smoke rose in sinister columns against the dark early morning sky. And it was there in that moment of absolute horror that my eyes caught something that made my heart stop. A figure. On the other side of the yard, near the fence that separated our property from the street. It was a man standing completely motionless, with his arm raised in my direction. No, not in my direction. Toward the burning house. He was holding a cell phone, filming. The orange light of the fire illuminated his face clearly enough for me to recognize every feature. My blood, which was already cold, froze completely in my veins. It was Michael, my husband. He was not running in desperation. He was not screaming for help. He was not trying to find me or call the fire department. He was simply there, standing like a statue, filming our house being consumed by flames with the calm of someone watching a sunset. And then I saw it. Even at a distance, even with my vision still blurred by smoke, I saw it clearly. His lips curled. A smile. Small but unmistakable. A smile of satisfaction, of triumph. He was waiting for me to die in there. I do not know how long I stayed there, sitting on the wet grass staring at Michael. It could have been seconds or minutes. Time had lost meaning. All that existed was that image branded into my mind. My husband. The man with whom I shared 5 years of my life, smiling while watching me die. He'd not seen me yet. He was too focused on filming, capturing every angle of the flames, devouring the bedroom where I should be, where he thought I still was. My body started to shake. It was not just from the cold of the night or the physical shock of the fall. It was something deeper, visceral. It was the collapse of an entire reality. The Michael I knew, who hugged me at night, who made pancakes on Sundays, who laughed at my bad jokes. That Michael never existed, or maybe he had existed once, but died somewhere along the way, replaced by this stranger who was now holding a phone as if he were documenting his vacation. That was when I groaned. A low, involuntary sound escaped my lips as I tried to get up and my injured ankle gave way under my weight. It was just a small noise, but in the stillness of the early morning it was enough. Michael lowered the phone abruptly. His head snapped in my direction. Our eyes met. I saw the exact moment the shock registered on his face. His eyes went wide. His mouth opened slightly. The phone almost slipped from his hand. For a fraction of a second, I saw the real Michael, or rather, I saw the monster behind the mask he had worn so well. But then, in the blink of an eye, the transformation happened. Like a seasoned actor entering a scene, Michael recomposed his face. Shock gave way to panic. Panic gave way to desperation. He shoved the phone into his pocket so fast he almost dropped it, and then started running toward me. Emily. His voice tore through the night, loaded with an emotion that would have convinced me if I had not seen that smile. Emily. Oh my God, Emily. He crossed the yard in seconds, his breathing heavy, his eyes wide in feigned concern. He threw himself next to me on the grass, his hands touching my face, my shoulders as if making sure I was real. Are you okay? Are you hurt? Oh my God. I thought his voice broke convincingly and tears started to form in his eyes, crocodile tears. I thought I had lost you. He pulled me into a tight hug, so tight I could feel his heart beating against my chest. But something was wrong. His heart was not racing as it should be. It was not beating with the frenetic rhythm of someone who had just witnessed a horror. It was beating steady, controlled calm. My body went rigid in his arms. Every fiber of my being screamed for me to pull away, but something stopped me. A survival instinct whispering, "Do not reveal that you know." Not yet. What happened? He pulled away a little, holding my face between his hands, forcing me to look him in the eyes. How did the fire start? Are you hurt? Let me see. His hands ran over my arms, examining the cuts from the glass shards. He made all the right sounds of worry, all the right expressions of horror. If I did not know the truth, I would have believed he was the most dedicated husband in the world. I do not know. My voice came out hoarse, damaged by the smoke I had inhaled. I woke up with the smell of smoke. The door was jammed. I could not get out. I watched his face carefully as I spoke. I saw the slightest flicker of doubt in his eyes when I mentioned the jammed door. It was fast, almost imperceptible, but it was there. Jammed. He repeated, frowning as if genuinely confused. But how we never locked that door. I do not know, Michael. I just know it was jammed. I coughed violently, my lungs still struggling to expel the smoke. I had to break the window to get out. The windows would not open either. Oh my God. He shook his head. A flawless performance of disbelief and horror. It must have been the heat. Sometimes metal expands with high temperatures and things get stuck. Thank God you were able to break the window. Liar. The windows were nailed shut. Heat does not put nails in wooden frames. Sirens started sounding in the distance, getting louder and louder. The fire department was arriving at our street in Chicago. Some neighbors started appearing in windows and doors, woken by the noise and the flames that now illuminated the entire street. Michael stood up quickly, helping me to get on my feet, although every movement was torture for my injured ankle. He supported me with an arm around my waist, playing the role of the protective husband perfectly. Calm down, honey, I have got you. Let us get away from the house. The firefighters are already here. His voice was soft, comforting as he guided me away from the heat of the flames. 2 fire trucks rounded the corner, their red and blue lights painting the night in shades of emergency. Paramedics jumped out of an ambulance coming right behind, running in my direction with a stretcher and medical gear. Michael handed me over to their care immediately, but kept a hand on my shoulder, not moving far away. He continued his performance, explaining to the firefighters and paramedics what had happened, or rather his version of what had happened. He had gone out to buy medicine. His voice was loaded with emotion as he spoke with the fire chief. My wife was not feeling well earlier, and the 24-hour pharmacy is about 15 minutes from here. When I came back, I saw the flames. I tried to get in, but the fire was already too strong. I could not get to her. I thought. He covered his face with his hands, his shoulders shaking in controlled sobs. The firefighters nodded with sympathy, patting his shoulder comfortably. Nobody suspected anything. Why would they? He was the devastated husband, the secondary victim of this tragedy. While the paramedics cleaned my wounds and checked my vitals, I watched Michael. He was talking to the neighbors who had gathered, accepting hugs and words of comfort. His performance was flawless. Every gesture, every expression, every word was perfectly calibrated to portray a man in shock, grateful that his wife was alive. But I knew the truth, and that truth burned inside me more intensely than any flame. "Ma'am, we need to take you to the hospital." The older paramedic touched my arm gently. "You inhaled a lot of smoke, and those cuts need stitches. We are going to load you into the ambulance." I nodded in silence. My throat was too hurt to speak much, and part of me was relieved to have an excuse not to have to say anything. Michael immediately offered to go with me, of course. He got into the ambulance sitting next to me, holding my hand during the entire ride to Memorial Hospital. To any outside observer, we were the perfect couple united by tragedy. But every time he touched my hand, every time he looked into my eyes with that fake concern, I saw the smile, that damn smile, illuminated by the flames. And I knew that if I wanted to survive, really survive, I would have to be smarter than him. I would have to play his game. For now. The hospital was quiet at that hour of the morning. The fluorescent lights of the hallway seemed excessively bright after the darkness of the night and the smoke that had clouded my vision. My eyes burned, not just from the physical irritation, but from the tears I refused to let fall in front of Michael. The nurses took me to an emergency room where a young doctor began examining my injuries. Michael stayed outside, initially talking to the administrative team about paperwork and insurance. When he finally entered the room, he brought a cup of water and that rehearsed expression of worry that I now recognized as fake. "How are you feeling?" He approached, placing his hand on my shoulder. I had to make a conscious effort not to flinch at his touch. "Tired." My voice came out even hoarser than before. The doctor had explained that my throat was inflamed from smoke inhalation and that it would probably take days to fully improve. And sore. The doctor said, "You are going to be fine." Michael pulled a chair close to the stretcher where I was sitting. "Your lungs are clear, thank God. The cuts are going to heal. You were lucky, Emily, very lucky. Lucky." He called that luck. As if I had escaped by chance and not because I fought desperately for my life while he filmed waiting for me to die. The doctor returned with a nurse bringing supplies to stitch the deeper cuts on my arms and legs. Michael held my hand during the procedure, making small circles with his thumb on my back in a gesture that should be comforting but gave me nausea. "You must be in shock too." The nurse looked at Michael with sympathy while applying local anesthesia to my arm. "It must have been terrifying to see your house burning like that." It was. Michael shook his head, his voice heavy. "I can only think about what could have happened if she had not been able to get out if I had arrived a few minutes later." He left the sentence unfinished, allowing the nurse to fill in the blanks with her own imagination. She made a compassionate sound, clearly moved by the apparent devotion of this husband. I wanted to scream. I wanted to shake her and tell her that the man sitting there, holding my hand so gently, had nailed the windows shut, that he had jammed the bedroom door from the outside, that he had started that fire intentionally with the specific goal of killing me. But I could not without proof. And at that moment, injured, exhausted, still processing the trauma, I knew no one would believe me. Michael had built his persona carefully. To the outside world, we were the perfect couple. He was the attentive husband, the dedicated provider. I would be dismissed as a traumatized woman, possibly delirious from smoke inhalation. So I remained silent, letting them stitch my wounds, while Michael kept his hand on my shoulder, a constant weight reminding me of his presence. After what seemed like an eternity, the medical team finished. I had 12 stitches, total 5 on my left arm, 4 on my right leg, 3 on my foot. My ankle was bandaged firmly, a severe sprain that would require weeks of recovery. Prescriptions for painkillers and antibiotics were given to prevent infection. We are going to keep her here for observation until tomorrow morning. The doctor made notes on his chart. We want to ensure there are no delayed respiratory complications. Smoke inhalation can be treacherous. Michael thanked him profusely, shaking the doctor's hand with exaggerated gratitude. When we were finally alone in the private room, they transferred me to he pulled a chair close to my bed and sat down. "You need to rest." He adjusted my blanket, smoothing the edges with meticulous care. It was a horrible night, but it is over. We are safe now. Safe. What a cruel joke. I was trapped in a hospital room with the man who had tried to murder me, and he was talking about safety. Michael. My voice came out weak, but I needed to ask the question. I needed to see how he would react. "Did you see anything weird when you came home? Anyone lurking around the property?" He frowned, seeming to consider it carefully. "No, why, it is just that." I paused, feigning doubt. The doors. Michael. The bedroom door was jammed from the outside, and the windows were not just stuck. There was something blocking them. I saw his eyes narrow for a fraction of a second before he controlled his expression. "Emily, you were in panic. The house was on fire. Sometimes our perception gets distorted in extreme situations. I know what I saw. I am sure you do, honey." His tone was patient, almost patronizing. "But think about it. Who would want to hurt us? We do not have enemies. It was probably a short circuit, some old wiring. These things happen." He was gaslighting me, trying to plant the seed of uncertainty. It was a classic manipulation tactic, and if I had not seen that smile, maybe it would have worked. Maybe. I turned on my side, closing my eyes. "I am too tired to think about that now." Of course, he stood up, kissing my forehead with a tenderness that made me want to shove him away violently. "I'm going to let you rest. I will stay right here in the chair. I am not going anywhere." That was exactly what I feared. He would not go anywhere. He would stay there watching me, making sure I did not say anything inconvenient to the nurses or doctors. It was surveillance disguised as care. I kept my eyes closed, regulating my breathing to seem like I was sleeping. I heard Michael settle into the recliner next to my bed, the leather creaking under his weight. A few minutes later, I heard the soft sound of his breathing becoming deeper and regular. But I did not sleep. How could I? Every time I closed my eyes, I saw the flames. I saw that smile. I felt the suffocating heat of the room, the burning of the smoke in my lungs, the panic of being trapped with no way out. And now, lying in that hospital bed surrounded by the monotonous beep of the monitors, I started to think, really think. Why did Michael want to kill me? It made no sense. We were not rich. We had a comfortable life, but nothing extraordinary. My life insurance was modest. His too. There was no inheritance coming, no overwhelming debt that I knew of. Unless there was something I did not know. That possibility left me cold. How many things about my own husband did I really not know? We had married after 2 years of dating. He worked in finance, always busy, always with meetings. I was a literature teacher at a private school, a job I loved, but that did not pay especially well. Our routine was predictable, comfortable, or at least that is what I thought. But what if all that normality was just a facade? What if Michael had a whole life I was unaware of? I needed help. I needed someone I could trust, someone who would believe me. And there was only one person who fit that description, Sarah. Sarah was my best friend since college. More than that, she was a badass criminal defense attorney and one of the best in Chicago. If anyone could help me navigate this impossible situation, it was her. But how to contact her without Michael noticing? He was there less than 6 feet from me, and I did not have my cell phone. It had probably been destroyed in the fire. I would have to wait. Wait for the right moment, the right opportunity. And in the meantime, I would have to keep acting, the traumatized wife fragile, dependent on her dedicated husband for emotional support, while inside silently I began to plan my survival. Because now I understood one thing with absolute clarity. Michael had failed to kill me once. But men like him, men who smile while watching their wives burn, do not give up easily. He would try again. And next time, I had to be prepared. Morning came slowly filtered through the white curtains of the hospital room. The pale light of dawn revealed Michael still sleeping in the recliner, his head tilted at an awkward angle, his mouth slightly open. He looked so ordinary, so human. It was difficult to reconcile that image with the monster I knew he was. A nurse entered silently to check my vitals. She smiled, seeing Michael sleeping, and whispered, "He stayed here all night. He did not want to leave for even a minute. You are lucky to have such a dedicated husband." Lucky. That word again. I forced a weak smile and nodded, unable to form words, through the knot in my throat. After the nurse left, I stayed lying there, staring at the ceiling, my mind racing. The doctor had said I would probably be discharged in the morning, which meant going back to where our house was destroyed. We would have to stay at a hotel or maybe with someone from Michael's family. That last possibility left me even more tense. Michael's family, his overprotective mother, his successful businessman brother always treated me with a cold politeness. I was never good enough for their son, never elegant enough, never from a family important enough. The idea of depending on them now, while secretly suspecting that Michael had tried to kill me, was almost unbearable. Michael woke up around 7 in the morning, rubbing his eyes and stretching his neck with a groan. When his eyes met mine, that carefully calibrated smile appeared instantly. "Good morning, love. How are you feeling, Sore?" I did not need to fake the pain. Every inch of my body screamed in protest every time I moved. "I am going to call the nurse to see if they can give you something stronger for the pain." He got up, kissing my forehead before leaving the room. As soon as he left, I grabbed the hospital phone next to my bed. My fingers shook as I dialed the number I had memorized years ago, Sarah's cell phone. She always got up early to run, so there was a chance she would answer even before 7:30 in the morning. 3 rings. 4. My heart beat frantically. Michael could come back at any moment. "Hello." Sarah's familiar voice sounded on the other end of the line. "Sarah." My voice came out in an urgent whisper. "It is me, Emily. I need help." "Emily." "What are you talking about?" "It is 7 in the morning and you are whispering." "What?" "Please just listen to me. I do not have much time." I spoke quickly, my eyes fixed on the door. "Something terrible happened. Our house burned down last night. I almost died. Oh my God, are you okay? Where are you? I am at Memorial Hospital." "Sarah, it was not an accident. Michael tried to kill me. He jammed the bedroom door, nailed the windows, and then stood outside filming while the house burned. I saw him smiling. Silence on the other end of the line. For a terrible moment, I thought she would not believe me. "Emily, are you sure? You inhaled a lot of smoke. You could be confused. I know how it sounds, but I am completely sure. I saw him, Sarah. I saw every detail, and he is here, now acting like the perfect husband, and I do not know what to do. I do not know why he wants to kill me, but I know he will try again. Okay, breathe. Are you in immediate danger now? I do not know. He is being very attentive, but it is all fake. It is an act. And the best part is that everyone believes him. Listen, I am coming there as soon as I can, but I need to be discreet. If Michael really tried to kill you, we cannot let him suspect that you know or that you are seeking help. That could rush whatever he is planning." Sarah's voice had acquired that professional and calculating tone she used in court. "For now, keep acting normally. Do not confront him. Do not give any indication that you suspect him. Understood, understood. And Emily." Try to document everything, anything strange he does or says. We are going to need concrete proof. The sound of footsteps in the hallway made me freeze. I have to go. He is coming back. I hung up the phone just as Michael opened the door, bringing a nurse with him. If he noticed anything strange in my expression, he did not show it. The nurse administered more painkillers through my IV and checked my dressings. The doctor should stop by in a while to discharge you. She smiled warmly. Your lung exams came back clear. You were very lucky. There was that word again, lucky. 2 hours later, I was sitting in a wheelchair being pushed by Michael through the hospital parking lot. The morning sun was too bright, making my eyes burn. Or maybe it was the tears I kept holding back. I booked a room at a hotel downtown. Michael opened the passenger door of his car, a black sedan he kept impeccably clean. Just temporarily until we figure out what to do about the house. Insurance should cover everything, but it will take time. Insurance, of course. That made sense now. Michael had burned the house to get the insurance money. But why would he need to kill me too, unless there was more money at stake? My life insurance. It was not a fortune, but it was $500,000. For someone desperate for money, it could be enough. But Michael had a good job. At least that was what he always said, unless that was a lie too. During the ride to the hotel, I watched Michael carefully. He drove with one hand on the wheel, the other occasionally reaching out to touch my knee in a gesture that should be comforting. He talked about how we would rebuild everything, how this was just a temporary obstacle, how we would come out stronger from this test. The words were right. The tone was right. But there was something about the way his eyes did not match his smile, as if he were constantly calculating, planning his next moves. The hotel was mid-range, nothing extravagant. Michael helped me in insisting on carrying the small bag with the emergency belongings the hospital had provided. The room was clean but impersonal. Queen-size bed, flat-screen TV, tiny bathroom, a window overlooking the parking lot. I'm going to run out quickly to buy some clothes for us. Michael helped me sit on the bed. Do you need anything else, my cell phone? The words came out before I could stop them. I need a new cell phone to call people, let them know about the fire. Michael hesitated for a fraction of a second. Sure, I'm going to get you one, but maybe it is better if you rest first. People can wait. Michael, my parents. They are going to be worried when they find out. I already called them this morning from the hospital. I explained everything. They wanted to come immediately, but I said you needed to rest and that I would keep them updated. He had called my parents without telling me, controlling the narrative before I could speak to them. One more piece fitting into the puzzle of his manipulation. That was considerate. I forced the words through clenched teeth. It is the least I can do. He kissed the top of my head. I will be back in an hour. Lock the door after I leave and do not open it for anyone. Okay. I nodded, and he finally left. As soon as I heard his footsteps fading down the hallway, I grabbed the hotel phone and dialed Sarah again. I am at a hotel. I gave her the address and room number quickly. Michael just left. He said he will be back in an hour. I am on my way. Do not open the door to anyone else. And Emily, when he comes back, try to find out as much as possible about your financial situation. Bank statements, debts, anything. Men do not commit murder without a reason, and money is almost always the answer. She hung up, and I stayed there, sitting on the hotel bed, looking around the impersonal room, feeling the weight of my new reality. My husband had tried to kill me, and now I was trapped in a hotel room with him pretending nothing was wrong while secretly trying to gather evidence before he tried again. The irony was not lost on me. I had escaped a jammed, burning room, only to find myself trapped in another type of prison, one made not of locked doors and nailed windows, but of lies, manipulation, and fear. But this time, I had something I did not have before. I had knowledge. I knew who he really was. And with Sarah's help, I would find a way out of this trap. Because if there is one thing years of teaching literature taught me, it is that every story has an ending. And I was determined to ensure that the ending of this story did not finish with my death. Sarah arrived 20 minutes later, knocking on the door in a specific pattern we had agreed on over the phone. 3 quick knocks, pause, 2 knocks. I opened the door quickly and she entered, closing it behind her with a soft click. She hugged me tight, and it was only then that I finally let the tears fall. Silent sobs shook my body while she held me, stroking my hair, murmuring words of comfort. For a moment, I allowed myself to be vulnerable, to be the terrified woman who almost burned to death in her own house. But only for a moment. Tell me everything. Sarah guided me to the bed, sitting next to me, holding my hands. Every detail, no matter how small or irrelevant it seems. And so I told her. About waking up to the smell of smoke. About the jammed door and nailed windows. About breaking the glass and jumping. The pain of the fall. And about that horrible moment when I saw Michael outside filming, smiling. Sarah listened in silence, her expression becoming increasingly grim. When I finished, she let out a long sigh. Okay, first thing, we need that video. If he really filmed the fire, it is direct proof of premeditation and awareness of the crime. Even if it does not show that he started the fire, it shows him watching without taking action to save you, which can characterize failure to render aid or even participation. How am I going to get his phone? He does not leave without it. We are going to think about that, but first I need to understand the motive. Emily, do you have financial problems? Debts that you know of? I shook my head. Not that I know of. Michael always handled the finances. He said I did not have to worry about that my paycheck could go all to my things and he would cover the house expenses. Sarah frowned. That is a problem. It means he could be hiding anything from you. Gambling, debts, bad loans, failed investments. Emily, do you have access to your bank accounts? Only my personal account. He has a joint account for household expenses, but I never paid much attention. I transferred money there every month and paid bills automatically. Do you know where he keeps financial documents, statements, contracts? There was a home office, but my voice broke. Everything must have burned. Not necessarily. Sarah pulled her tablet out of her bag. Banks keep records online, credit card companies too. If we can access his logins, we can see everything. Do you know his passwords? No, he was always very careful with that. And his phone? Do you know the passcode? I thought for a moment. He uses a fingerprint most of the time, but I think the numeric code is his date of birth. 0815, August 15th. Good, that is something. Sarah typed notes on her tablet. When he returns, try to observe if he accesses bank accounts or makes any transaction. Any information you get is useful. A thought occurred to me. Sarah, there is one more thing. The insurance. The house was insured, obviously. But there is also life insurance. Your life insurance. How much? $500,000. Michael is the beneficiary. Sarah nodded slowly, her suspicions clearly confirmed. And let me guess, he was the one who suggested you get that insurance. I thought back, trying to remember. It was about a year ago. Michael had come home with the papers saying it was important to have that protection, especially because I did not have close family besides my parents. If something happened to me, he would be responsible for everything, including funeral costs and debts. At that moment, it seemed sensible. Now it seemed sinister. Yes, he brought the papers ready. I just signed. And the house insurance. What is the value? I think it was $800,000. The house was valued at $1,200,000, but he insured only the structure, not the full contents. $1.3 million total then. Sarah whistled low. It is a good motive for arson and homicide, especially if he is desperate for money. We heard footsteps in the hallway. We both froze. Sarah quickly put away her tablet and stood up. Back window. Is there a fire escape? I do not know. I have not looked. Does not matter. If it is Michael, you say I came to visit you quickly when I found out about the accident. Worried friend. Nothing out of the ordinary. Understood. I nodded, my heart racing. The footsteps passed straight by our door, continuing down the hallway. We both released our breath. He must be coming back soon. Sarah held my shoulders, looking me straight in the eyes. "Emily, you need to be strong. I know you are scared, but you cannot show it to him. Act normally. Be the wife traumatized by the fire, but do not suspect him. If he realizes you know, he might panic and do something impulsive. I know. I am going to be careful. I am going to install an app on my phone that lets me track your location, and I am going to give you a burner phone." She took a small cell phone out of her bag. "It already has my number saved. Use it only in emergencies and make sure Michael never finds it. Hide it well." I took the small cell phone, feeling its weight in my hands. It was a simple device, basic, but at that moment it seemed like a lifeline. Where do I hide it? Sarah looked around the room. Your clothes. In the lining of your bra or inside the sole of your shoe. Somewhere he would never check. I went to the bathroom and hid the cell phone in the box of sanitary pads the hospital had given me. Michael would never look there. When I came back, Sarah was near the door listening. "I am leaving now. Remember, document everything. Strange behaviors, suspicious conversations, anything, and try to get access to that video. It is our best chance to catch him before he tries again." She hugged me one more time. Then she left quickly, her boots echoing softly in the hallway. I stayed alone in the room, the silence weighing on me. I looked at my reflection in the mirror above the dresser. My hair was messy, my face stained with tears, bandages visible on my arms. I looked exactly like a victim, which was good, because that was what Michael expected to see. I sat on the bed and turned on the TV, tuning into some random news channel. I needed to look like I was just resting when he arrived. 15 minutes later, the key turned in the lock. Michael entered carrying several shopping bags. His face lit up seeing me. "Hi, love. I bought some clothes for you. I had to guess the sizes, so if they do not fit, we can exchange them." He started taking clothes out of the bags, t-shirts, sweatpants, basic underwear. Everything in neutral colors, nothing like the clothes I normally wore. "Thanks." I took one of the t-shirts, feeling the cheap fabric between my fingers. "I also bought toiletries and a new cell phone for you." He handed me a box. "I already put your old number in and set everything up. You just have to call and let your contacts know about the new number." I took the phone, turning it on. It was a basic model, cheap. Nothing like the smartphone I had before. Michael watched as I explored the device. I thought it was better to buy something simple for now, until we see how much the insurance covers and how our financial situation stands. That caught my attention. Our financial situation is fine, right? I mean, you always said we were comfortable. I saw the slightest flicker of doubt cross his face. "We are, of course. I am just being cautious. A fire is a traumatic and expensive event, even with insurance. It will take time to process everything. How long? For the house insurance. Probably a few months. They need to investigate, confirm it was not fraud." He laughed, but there was a false note in that, like someone burning their own house on purpose. I watched his expression carefully. He seemed confident, but there was sweat on his forehead. The hotel room was not hot. "And my life insurance." The words came out before I could stop them. "I mean, if I had died, would you have received the money quickly?" Michael stood completely still for a moment. Then he forced a smile. "Why are you thinking about that?" "Just curiosity. I was thinking about how lucky I was. How everything could have ended differently. Do not think about that." He approached, sitting next to me, taking my hands. "You are alive. That is all that matters. Money is just money. You are irreplaceable." The words were sweet, romantic even, but his eyes were cold, calculating. He was lying. And in that moment, looking into his empty eyes, I realized something terrible. Michael was not just trying to kill me for the money. There was something else, something I still did not understand. And if I wanted to survive, I needed to find out what. The following days at the hotel turned into a strange and suffocating routine. Michael was always present, always attentive, always controlling. He went out only to handle insurance things or buy groceries, but never for more than an hour. The rest of the time, he stayed glued to me under the pretext of taking care of his traumatized wife. I used that trauma as a shield. I faked panic attacks when I heard sirens. I shuddered seeing matches or lighters on TV. I cried in my sleep, or at least I pretended to cry. Michael seemed satisfied with these demonstrations of fragility. They made him lower his guard. But at night, when he finally slept, I stayed awake, staring at the ceiling planning. The burner phone Sarah gave me was hidden inside a sanitary pad in the bathroom. I checked it only when Michael showered or went out briefly. Sarah had hired a private investigator, Javier, to examine Michael's finances. He was also trying to get access to insurance records and check if there were precedents if Michael had tried something like this before. On the third day at the hotel, something changed. Michael received a call that left him visibly agitated. He went out to the hallway to answer, but I managed to hear snippets through the thin door. I said, "I am going to pay. I need more time. The insurance money is going to cover everything. Debts." So that was it. Or at least part of it. When he returned to the room, his face was tense, but he quickly recomposed his expression seeing me watching. "Everything okay, honey, it was work. Some problems that need to be solved." He took the car keys. "I need to go out for a few hours. Will you be okay here alone?" My heart raced. It was the first time he would leave me alone for more than an hour since the fire. "I think so. But can you not solve that problem over the phone?" "No. I need to be there personally." He kissed my forehead. "Lock the door and do not open it for anyone. I will be back before dinner." As soon as he left, I waited 5 minutes to make sure he would not come back. Then I grabbed the burner phone and called Sarah. He left. I do not know for how long. Perfect. I am sending the investigator over there. He is going to install a tracker on Michael's car, and if possible, a listening device. He is also going to check the room while you are there. There might be something hidden that gives us clues about what he is planning. What if he comes back? The investigator is discreet. He will look like hotel maintenance if anyone asks. Just make sure the door is unlocked for him. 15 minutes later, a middle-aged man in a maintenance uniform knocked on the door. He discreetly showed an ID confirming he was from Sarah's team. Javier. He introduced himself with a brief nod. "I am going to be quick. You need to stay near the door and warn me if you see your husband returning." I did what he asked, keeping myself near the door while Javier worked with terrifying efficiency. First, he installed tiny audio and video devices in strategic places inside the smoke alarm behind the mirror inside the TV. Then, with my permission, he went to Michael's car in the parking lot. I stayed in the room, my heart beating fast at every sound in the hallway. Every footstep, every voice made my entire body tense up. But Javier returned only 10 minutes later. Done. GPS tracker installed on the car. The microphones in the room should pick up any conversation. We are going to be able to monitor everything remotely. He handed me a small device that looked like a USB drive. This here is a backup of what we record. If something goes wrong, you have the recordings. What if he finds the microphones? They are extremely small and well hidden. He would have to be looking specifically for them, and even then, it would be difficult. But if he finds them, call Sarah immediately and get out of here. Understood. I nodded, taking the device and hiding it along with the burner phone. Javier left as silently as he arrived, and I went back to feigning normality, sitting on the bed and turning on the TV. My heart was still racing when Michael arrived 2 hours later. He seemed more relaxed than when he had left, which was strange considering the tense call earlier. He brought Chinese food in bags for dinner. "How are you?" He placed the containers on the small table. "Did you miss me?" "Yes." I lied easily now. It is strange being alone after everything that happened. We ate in relative silence, Michael occasionally updating me on the progress with the insurance. All carefully constructed lies, I was sure. That night, when he was already sleeping, I went to the bathroom and turned on the burner phone. There was a message from Sarah. Tracker working. He went to 3 places today, a casino downtown, a known loan shark, and the office of a lawyer specializing in insurance fraud. Keep acting normally. We are close. A casino. A loan shark. The pieces of the puzzle were finally fitting together. Michael had gambling debts, probably substantial ones, and was planning to use the insurance money to pay them, but there was still something that did not add up. Why kill me? The house insurance would be enough for most debts. Why risk a homicide charge unless the debts were much bigger than I imagined, or unless there was another reason? The next morning, I had my answer. Michael left early saying he needed to go to the bank. As soon as he left, I checked the burner phone. Sarah had sent Files bank statements the investigator had obtained. What I saw left me breathless. Michael had withdrawn $300,000 from the joint account over the last 6 months. Small withdrawals strategically spaced not to draw attention. Besides that, he had 3 credit cards with maxed out limits, totaling another $200,000 in debt. But the worst was in a recent transfer. $15,000 sent to an account in the name of Jessica Miller, with the description, child support. My world stopped for a moment. Jessica Miller. I knew that name. She was a woman Michael had said was an ex-colleague from work, someone who occasionally appeared in photos from his company events. He always assured me she was just a professional acquaintance. But child support meant only one thing. Son. Michael had a son with another woman. A son he was supporting secretly taking money from our joint account, lying about everything. The transfer started 2 years ago, shortly after our wedding. I was the dumb wife who knew nothing, the convenient source of income. And now, with gambling debt suffocating him, I had become an obstacle, more valuable dead than alive. My hands shook holding the phone. Rage, betrayal, horror. Everything mixed into an emotional storm that threatened to consume me. But I forced calm. I forced clarity. Sarah was right. Men do not commit murder without a reason. And now I knew all of Michael's reasons. When he returned that afternoon, I was in bed, supposedly resting. He approached, kissing my forehead like always, and I had to use all my willpower not to pull away. How are you love better? I looked into his eyes, those eyes I had loved once, and I saw only a stranger. Actually, I was thinking, when can we start rebuilding the house? Michael seemed surprised by the question. Oh, well, it is still going to take a few months until the insurance releases everything. We're just thinking about the future, about starting over. Maybe even... I paused as if hesitating. Maybe even expanding the family. I saw his entire body tense up. Expanding having children. After almost dying, I realized life is short. Maybe it is time to think about having babies. The discomfort on his face was palpable. He could not say no without raising suspicions, but the idea clearly horrified him. That is something to think about. He walked away, taking the remote and turning on the TV when things calmed down. That night, I heard Michael make a call when he thought I was sleeping. He whispered, but Javier's microphones would pick up everything. No, not yet. She is recovering. I need to wait for the right moment. Yes, I know how much you need, but I cannot rush this. He was talking to the loan shark, or maybe to Jessica. It did not matter. What mattered was that Michael was planning his next move, and thanks to Sarah, I would be ready. A week after the fire, Michael announced he had found a temporary apartment to rent while the house situation was resolved. It was in an older building far from our old neighborhood, but he insisted it was the best option for the price. What he really meant was it was isolated. Fewer curious neighbors, fewer witnesses. Sarah warned me not to refuse. It would be too suspicious. So I accepted playing the grateful wife for the husband who was taking care of everything. The apartment was on the 5th floor of a 6-story building. It had 1 bedroom, a small kitchen, and windows facing a dark alley. The first thing I noticed was that the windows had bars. For security, Michael explained. But I saw those bars and thought of prison. Javier installed new surveillance devices as soon as we moved in, disguised as the internet technician. Sarah could now monitor me 24 hours a day. It was comforting and terrifying at the same time. If you scream or activate the panic alarm I installed on your watch, I will be there in 5 minutes, Sarah assured me over the phone while Michael was at the supermarket. The police will be informed and on standby. But Emily, we need to catch him in the act. We need irrefutable proof of attempted murder. You want me to be the bait. I want you to be safe. But yes, if he tries something, we need to document it. It is the only way to guarantee he goes to jail and stays there. That night, Michael was weird, quieter than normal. He made dinner. Pasta with red sauce, my favorite dish, but he barely touched his own food. He just watched me eat, his eyes fixed on every bite I took to my mouth. Is everything okay? I asked, putting down the fork. Yeah, sure, just tired. He rubbed his face. It has been hard dealing with the insurance with everything. I lied, saying I understood that I was proud of him for being so strong. The words came out easily now. Lying had become second nature. Later, when I went to the bathroom, I noticed something strange. A new bottle of sleeping pills in the cabinet. It was not prescribed for me, and certainly not for Michael. He always prided himself on never needing medication for anything. I photographed the bottle with the burner phone and sent it to Sarah. Her response came in seconds. Ambien high dose. He is planning something. Do not take anything he offers you. My stomach churned. The dinner. He had stayed watching me eat. Did he put something in the food? I ran to the toilet and forced myself to vomit. Better safe than sorry. When I returned to the living room, Michael was clearing the plates. Are you okay? I heard you in the bathroom. I think I ate too fast. My stomach is still sensitive after everything. I leaned against the wall, feigning dizziness. You should rest. He guided me to the bedroom, extremely attentive. I am going to make you a tea to calm your stomach. Not necessary. I am fine. I just want to lie down. But he insisted. 10 minutes later, he returned with a steaming cup of chamomile tea. Drink it. It will help you sleep, too. I took the cup blue on the steam, but did not drink. It is too hot. I'm going to let it cool a little. I put the cup on the nightstand and lay down, closing my eyes. I heard Michael move around the room, the sound of drawers opening. I peeked through my lashes and saw him rummaging through my things, looking for something. The phone. He was looking for my phone. Thank God I had hidden the burner in the lining of my jacket in the closet. He found only the basic smartphone he himself had given me, checked it quickly, and put it back. Emily. He touched my shoulder. I made a sleepy sound, keeping my eyes closed. Did you not drink your tea? Too tired. I heard him sigh, frustrated. Then I heard something that froze my blood. The sound of liquid being poured. He was pouring the tea out, probably so I would not discover it was drugged. When I finally heard his footsteps walking away and the bedroom door closing partially, I opened my eyes. I waited 20 minutes to make sure he was in the living room watching TV. Then silently, I grabbed the burner phone and sent a message to Sarah. He tried to drug me. Sleeping pills in the tea. Her answer was immediate. Did you drink? No. I pretended I was going to drink and poured it out when he was not looking. Great. Save the cup if possible. We need it as evidence. And Emily, stay on high alert tonight. If he thinks you are drugged, he might try something. My heart raced. I got up silently and went to the teacup. It still had a little liquid at the bottom. I took a small, empty water bottle I had saved and poured the rest of the tea into it, closing it tight. I hid the bottle inside the box of sanitary pads in the bathroom, my reliable hiding place. I went back to bed and lay down in exactly the same position, forcing my breathing to be slow and deep, imitating heavy sleep. And I waited. An hour passed. 2. I heard Michael moving around the living room, the muffled sound of the TV. Then around 3 in the morning, I heard his footsteps approaching the bedroom. The door opened slowly. He entered his steps, deliberately silent. He stopped next to the bed. Emily. His voice was a whisper. Are you awake? I kept my breathing even, no response. He touched my shoulder, shaking me slightly. "Emily." I remained completely motionless, all the muscles in my body tense, but feigning total relaxation. I heard him sigh a sound of satisfaction, and then his footsteps walking away, but he did not leave the room. I heard sounds of drawers opening, things being moved. What was he looking for? Then I heard a metallic click I recognized immediately, the small safe I had and where I kept important documents. He was opening it. Through my half-open lashes, I saw Michael crouched in the corner of the room, the safe open in front of him. He was taking out papers, certificates, passport deeds, and in the middle of everything, my life insurance policy. He looked at the policy for a long moment, his fingers tracing the numbers. $500,000. Then he put everything back closed, the safe, and left the room. I waited 15 more minutes before moving. Then very carefully I grabbed the burner phone hidden in my jacket. A message was already waiting for me. From Sarah. The cameras caught everything. He was checking your policy. "Emily, I think he is going to try something today. You need to get out of there now." My fingers shook as I typed. "How he is between me and the door. Window. There is a fire escape 2 floors down. Can you climb down to there?" I looked at the barred window. The bars were old, screwed into the wall, but one of the sections seemed looser than the others. I had noticed it when we moved in. I am going to try. Support team is coming up now. 5 minutes. I just need 5 minutes. I put the phone in my pocket and silently walked to the window. The bars were held with old, rusty screws. I took a knife from the makeup kit I had kept and started working on the loosest screw. It gave way easier than I expected, falling to the floor with a soft clink. I worked on the next one. My hands were sweating, slipping on the knife, and then I heard it. Footsteps. Michael was coming back. I worked faster, forcing the 3rd screw. He was getting closer to the bedroom door. The 4th screw. The grate was loose enough to push. The doorknob started to turn. I pushed the grate with all my strength. It gave way with a metallic screech too loud. Michael heard it. The door slammed open. "Emily." I did not look back. I opened the window and threw myself out, grabbing the windowsill of the apartment below. My arms screamed in protest, stitches pulling, but I did not let go. Emily, no Michael, was at the window, trying to reach me. I let myself drop, landing on the narrow concrete ledge 1 floor down. Pain exploded in my ankle, still injured, but I kept moving desperately, searching for the fire escape Sarah had mentioned. There, 6 feet to the left, an old metal ladder descending down the side of the building. I ran toward it just as Michael started running down the building stairs. He would be faster than me, even with my small head start. I climbed down the ladder as fast as I could, my feet slipping on the steps, wet from the night dew. I could hear Michael screaming my name, his voice echoing through the alley. And then, like a gift from the heavens, I saw blue and red lights rounding the corner. 2 squad cars and a black sedan. Sarah. Here I screamed, waving my arms desperately. "I am here." Michael came out through the front door of the building, just as the police jumped out of their cars. He stopped frozen, his eyes going from me to them and back. For a moment, I thought he was going to run. But then, like a consummate actor, his expression changed. Worry, confusion, fear. Thank God he started walking toward me. "Officers, my wife is confused. She survived a terrible fire and has been traumatized. Mr. Santos, please stay where you are." One of the cops positioned himself between us. Sarah got out of the sedan, walking to me and wrapping me in a protective hug. "Are you okay?" I nodded, shaking uncontrollably now that the adrenaline was starting to fade. What the hell is going on? Michael looked between us, his confusion seeming genuine. "Emily, why did you call the police? I was just worried about you." "Cut the act, Michael." Sarah turned to him, her voice cold and professional. "We have recordings of you drugging her tea tonight. We have records of your gambling debts, of the transfers to Jessica Miller of your secret son. We have evidence from the GPS tracker showing your visits to the loan shark. And most importantly, she signaled to one of the cops who approached carrying a laptop. We have this. The cop turned the screen so everyone could see. It was a video. The video Michael had filmed the night of the fire. My heart stopped when I saw the flames on the screen. The camera focused on our house burning. And then there it was, Michael's face illuminated by the fire. That sinister smile. How did you get that? Michael stammered, his face paling visibly even under the dim streetlights. Cloud backup. Sarah smiled coldly. You deleted it from your phone but forgot it was set to auto-upload. Our IT team recovered everything. I watched as Michael's mask finally fell completely. There was no longer the worried husband, only rage, desperation, defeat. That bitch hissed, looking at me with a hatred that froze my blood. You had no right to snoop in my life. That money was mine by right. I worked for it. I married you for it. You married me for the money. My voice came out firmer than I expected. I was a teacher, Michael. I did not have money. But you had the apartment your parents left you and the life insurance I made you get and the house we bought in your name to get a better loan. He laughed, a bitter and broken sound. You were my retirement plan, Emily. And then I ruined everything with gambling. And that bitch, Jessica, started demanding more and more child support, and I had no other choice. You always had a choice, I said calmly. You could have asked for a divorce. You could have been honest and split everything, lose half. No, it was easier this way. A tragic accident. Everyone loved you. I would be the devastated widower swimming in insurance money. Perfect. The cops were moving in now, cuffs ready. Michael realized too late he had confessed everything. Michael Santos, you are under arrest for attempted homicide and arson. The cop started reading his rights while handcuffing him. Michael struggled for a moment. Then he went still, head down. I loved you once, you know, he said while being led to the squad car. In the beginning, before everything got so complicated, no. My voice came out firm, clear. You never loved me. You loved the idea of me. The convenient version that fit into your plans. They put him in the back seat of the squad car and I watched as they took him away. No part of me felt pity, only relief, overwhelming relief that I was alive, that I had won. Sarah hugged me again, and this time I let the tears fall. Not from sadness, but from pure exhaustion. It was over, really over. Come on, Sarah said, gently guiding me to her car. You are staying with me tonight, and tomorrow we start rebuilding your life, the real life without lies. As we drove away, I looked one last time at the building where I had almost died for the second time. The dark windows, the faded walls. It looked smaller now, less threatening. It was just a building. And Michael was just a man. A weak, greedy man who had underestimated the strength of a woman determined to survive. I would never make that mistake again. 6 months later, I sat on a wooden bench outside the courthouse, watching people pass by. The sun was bright, almost blinding, but in a good way. In a way that reminded me I was alive to see another day. The trial was over. Michael was sentenced to 23 years in prison for attempted premeditated murder and arson. The evidence was overwhelming. The video of him filming the fire, the audio recordings of him admitting his plans, the drug tea, the financial records showing his gambling debts and secret payments to Jessica. His lawyer tried to plead temporary insanity, extreme pressure, from debts, even compulsive gambling syndrome. But none of that changed the fundamental fact. He had tried to kill me, twice in a premeditated, calculated way. The prosecution was relentless. And I was there for every day of the trial, sitting in the front row, looking Michael in the eyes every time he tried to look at me. I wanted him to see that I was no longer the naive wife he had tried to murder. I was the woman who put him behind bars. Jessica Miller also testified. I found out she did not know Michael was married when they started the relationship. He had lied to her too, saying he was divorced, that he was free. When she got pregnant, he promised to take responsibility. But the payments were irregular, always with excuses about temporary financial difficulties. She was as shocked as I was when the whole truth came to light. We even got to talk briefly after her testimony. It was strange sitting with the woman I had considered the other one and realizing we were both victims of the same manipulative man. He told me he loved you. Jessica confessed with tears in her eyes that you were just friends who married for tax convenience. I believed him. God, I was so stupid. We both were, I said gently. But not anymore. Her son, a 2-year-old boy named Mason, was well taken care of. Jessica was a good mother. She worked hard as a nurse. She did not ask me for anything, but I decided to help her financially. It was not the child's fault having a monstrous father. With Michael in jail, I could finally access all our accounts and understand the true extent of the financial disaster. He had accumulated over $800,000 in gambling debts and loans from loan sharks. Our house was mortgaged to the ceiling. The apartment my parents left me, my only truly valuable property, was about to be confiscated to pay a debt I did not even know existed because Michael had forged my signature on loan documents. Sarah helped me legally challenge those debts. Since I had no knowledge of them and my signature was forged, we managed to annul most of them. But the process was long and painful. The house insurance eventually paid for the destruction, but it was not as much as I expected. After investigating and confirming it was arson, they deducted a percentage for residential security negligence, as if I had any responsibility because my husband tried to burn me alive. Still, it was enough money to start over. I sold the land where our house stood. I did not want to rebuild there. I did not want anything else linking me to that life, to those memories. With the money from the sale and the insurance, I bought a small but cozy apartment closer to the school where I taught. It was liberating choosing every piece of furniture, every wall, color, every detail. It was my space, mine alone. No one else had keys. No one else had access to my documents, my finances, my life. I also started therapy. Sarah insisted, and she was right. It was not just the trauma of the fire or the betrayal. It was processing everything. How had I not seen the signs? How had I not noticed I was married to a stranger? My therapist, Dr. Roberts, was patient with me. You saw what he wanted you to see, she explained. People like Michael are experts at creating personas, convincing masks that show exactly what others want to see. It is not your fault for not realizing. It is his ability to deceive. It took months, but eventually I started to believe her. The guilt I carried for being stupid, naive, blind started to dissipate. I was not the villain of this story. I was the survivor. My parents were incredible during the entire process. My mother stayed with me for weeks after the trial, making soup and forcing me to eat when I had no appetite. My father, always the silent type, installed the best security system he could afford in my new apartment. No one is going to hurt you again, he said firmly, testing every lock, every alarm, not while I am alive. That made me cry more than anything else. Knowing I had people who truly loved me, who protected me without expecting anything in return. True love, I realized, looked nothing like what Michael had given me. I went back to teaching 3 months after the trial. My students made welcome back cards. The whole school staff organized a small welcome back potluck. It was overwhelming in a good way. "We missed you," Mrs. Emily said, one of my sophomore students, hugging me tight. "Your classes are the best." That reminded me why I loved my job. It was not for the money, it never was. It was for making a difference in people's lives, helping young minds fall in love with literature, with stories, with the beauty of language. And my own story, as terrible as part of it had been, was now a story of survival, of resilience. Sarah and I became even closer. She was there every step of the way, from the moment she believed me over the phone to staying by my side in court. She refused to charge for her services, saying friendship was priceless. "You saved me," I told her at a dinner a few weeks after the trial. "You literally kept me alive." "You saved yourself," she corrected. "I just gave you the tools." but it was you who had the courage to use them to face him, to survive. That was all you, Emily. Sometimes I still wake up in the middle of the night sweating, dreaming of smoke and fire. Sometimes I hear the fire alarm in my dreams and wake up screaming. Dr. Roberts says it is normal that PTSD does not disappear overnight, but every day gets a little easier. Every night I sleep peacefully is a victory. Every morning I wake up in my own apartment safe and free is a gift. Michael sent me letters from prison, 3 of them. I did not read any, simply burned them. A small irony that was not lost on me. Sarah advised me not to have any contact with him, and I agreed. He did not deserve even a piece more of my attention, of my time, of my life. Jessica also told me he tried to contact her, asking her to visit him to bring Mason. She refused. He is not a father, she told me. He is just a DNA donor. Mason does not need a murderer as a role model. Today, sitting on that bench outside the courthouse watching people live their ordinary lives, I feel at peace. Not complete happiness yet, that will take time, but peace. The storm passed, and I am still standing. My phone rings. The new one, which I control completely without anyone monitoring or lying about its use. It is a message from my mother. Dinner. Sunday, I am going to make your favorite lasagna. I smile as I respond. Of course I cannot wait. Family, true friends, a job I love, a home that is truly mine. Those are the things that matter, not money, not status, not the carefully constructed appearances of perfection. What matters is truth, safety, real love. And for the first time in years, maybe for the first time since I met Michael, I have all those things. The smoke cleared, the fire went out, and from the ashes, I built something new, something stronger. I built a life worth living. And no one, never again, anyone is going to take it from me. I get up from the bench, adjusting my bag on my shoulder. The sun is setting, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. Colors of fire, but now they are pretty not threatening. I walk toward the subway, my steps firm and confident. I have a therapy session tomorrow lunch with Sarah on Thursday, grading exams over the weekend. I have a life, a real life, honest mine. And there is nothing more precious than that. Now, if you like this story, click subscribe. And tell me in the comments which part left you with your mouth open. Oh, and do not forget to become a member to have access to exclusive videos that I do not upload here. I will wait for you there.